Greetings, cozy knights. Lower your swords and rest by the fire. Tonight, we journey through the hidden secrets and obscure mechanics of Skyrim's loyal companions. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're listening from tonight. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure. The Hidden Armor System. Every follower in Skyrim carries invisible equipment that you can never see in their inventory. When you recruit Lydia for the first time, she appears wearing her steel armor, but this armor doesn't actually exist in her tradable inventory. The game creates a hidden version of her default equipment that cannot be removed through normal trading. This invisible armor persists throughout the game, and every time you dismiss and rehire a follower, the game accidentally adds another complete set of this invisible equipment to their hidden inventory. This bug causes followers to gradually lose their carrying capacity as duplicate invisible items accumulate in their unseen storage space. The 25-point armor bonus. Followers receive a secret defensive bonus that the game never tells you about. For each piece of armor or shield a follower wears, they gain an additional 25 hidden armor points that don't appear in any stat calculation. If you equip a follower with a full set of armor including helmet, cuirass, gauntlets, boots, and shield, they receive 125 bonus armor points on top of the visible armor rating. This hidden bonus makes followers significantly more durable than their displayed stats would suggest, and it applies regardless of whether the armor is light or heavy. Followers never need lockpicks. While you struggle to maintain a supply of lockpicks, your followers possess an extraordinary ability. Any humanoid follower can open locked chests and doors at any difficulty level without consuming a single lockpick. Master-level locks that would normally require high skill and multiple picks pose no challenge to followers. You can command them to open any locked container, and they'll succeed instantly without needing the lockpicking skill or any tools whatsoever. This makes followers incredibly valuable for players who struggle with the lockpicking minigame. The Unlimited Arrow Exploit. One of Skyrim's most useful follower mechanics involves a simple trick with arrows. If you place a single high-quality arrow in your follower's inventory, they will fire unlimited copies of that arrow type without ever depleting their supply. The game only checks if the follower has at least one arrow to use, not whether they should consume arrows during combat. This means giving Lydia a single Daedric arrow results in her shooting infinite Daedric arrows throughout your adventures, saving you thousands of gold in ammunition costs. Followers all receive hunting bows. When any follower joins your party, the game automatically adds a specially modified hunting bow and 12 iron arrows to their hidden inventory. These items use unique versions that don't appear in the follower's visible inventory when you trade with them. The invisible bow and arrows exist solely for AI behavior purposes, ensuring followers always have a ranged option. However, this system sometimes causes bugs where followers prefer using their invisible hunting bow instead of the superior bow you gave them, leading to frustrating situations where your heavily armed follower shoots weak arrows instead of using their gifted equipment. The morality system. Followers operate under 4 distinct morality levels that govern their willingness to commit crimes. Level 0 followers will commit any crime you command without hesitation. Level 1 followers will attack enemies and steal property but refuse to harm innocent people. Level 2 followers only commit property crimes like theft. Level 3 followers refuse all criminal activity, but won't report crimes they witness you commit, unless you steal items that belong to them personally. Interestingly, nearly all followers fall into either level 0 or level 3, with Sven being the rare exception as the only level 2 morality follower in the game. All Housecarls are criminals. Despite being appointed by Jarls to serve as your honourable bodyguard, every single Housecarl in the game has a morality setting of 0. This means Lydia, Jordis, Rhea, and all other Housecarls will commit literally any crime you command them to perform. They'll murder innocent people, steal from temples, assault guards, or perform any illegal action without moral objection. The game's designers apparently decided that absolute loyalty to the Dragonborn superseded all moral considerations, creating the amusing situation where the most officially sanctioned followers are also the most criminally flexible. Housecarls never flee. Every Housecarl possesses the highest possible confidence rating called Foolhardy. This means they will never, under any circumstances, run away from combat no matter how outmatched they appear. Even facing dragons, giants, or overwhelming numbers of enemies, Housecarls will stand their ground and fight until either they fall or their enemies die. This makes them reliable tanks who won't abandon you during dangerous encounters, though it also means they're more likely to go down in fights where a tactical retreat would be wiser. The level cap varies wildly. Followers don't share a universal level cap. While the majority of followers cap at level 30, some followers have significantly lower limits. Roggy Notbeard and Sven both cap at level 20, making them poor choices for late-game adventures. However, certain followers possess no level cap whatsoever. J'zargo from the College of Winterhold, the Dark Brotherhood Initiates, Kellan, Ingyard, Durak, and Freya will continue leveling with you beyond level 81, making them among the most powerful follower choices for maximum level characters. J'zargo's unlimited potential. Among all followers in Skyrim, J'zargo the Khajiit Mage stands unique as the only non-DLC follower with no level cap in the base game. Unlike his fellow college students, Brelina and Onmund, who cap at level 30, J'zargo continues growing stronger alongside you indefinitely. This arrogant Khajiit, who constantly refers to himself in third person, will eventually possess more health and higher stats than almost any other follower choice. The unofficial Skyrim patch actually fixes this by imposing a level 30 cap on J'zargo, but in the unmodded game, he becomes increasingly powerful without limit. J'zargo only uses apprentice spells. Despite J'zargo's unlimited level potential and his boasts about magical prowess, he suffers from a significant limitation. The ambitious Khajiit knows 13 different spells, but only uses 9 of them as a follower. More problematically, he never learns higher level destruction spells, no matter how high his character level grows. Even at level 81, J'zargo continues casting low-level spark spells instead of impressive master-level destruction magic. Players can somewhat mitigate this weakness by giving him a powerful staff to use in combat, turning his unlimited health and stat growth into a strength despite his spell limitations. The pre-patch leveling bug. Before patch 1.6, Skyrim featured a devastating follower bug that permanently gimped their effectiveness. Followers and all levelable characters would lock their stats at whatever level they were when the player first encountered them. This meant if you walked into the College of Winterhold at level 5, J'zargo would forever remain a level 5 character, even if you reached level 50. The only way to fix this without console commands involved using the Wabbajack staff to transform the follower into an animal, then waiting for them to change back, which would reset and update their level. Hidden skill specializations. Each follower has invisible skill specializations that determine their combat effectiveness. These primary skills improve as followers level up, but the game never displays them to players. A follower might have high skill in heavy armor and two-handed weapons, making them excel when equipped accordingly, while another might specialize in archery and light armor. Understanding these hidden specializations helps you equip followers with gear that matches their strengths, though the game provides no in-game way to discover what each follower prefers without external research. Followers prioritize highest armor rating. When you give followers multiple armor pieces, they automatically equip whichever items provide the highest armor value. This seems logical, but it creates problems when followers have skill preferences. A follower who specializes in light armor will still equip heavy armor if it has a higher base armor rating, even though they lack perks and skills to use heavy armor effectively. This results in followers wearing suboptimal gear that provides high defense but prevents them from benefiting from their combat specializations and skill bonuses. The equipment decision algorithm. Followers use a simple but sometimes frustrating algorithm to choose their equipment. For weapons, they always equip whichever option deals the highest damage value. For armor, they always wear pieces with the highest armor rating. For other items like jewelry, followers consider various factors, including enchantments that benefit their playstyle. However, followers sometimes make bizarre choices, like equipping a weapon they're not skilled with simply because it has marginally higher damage. You can't override these decisions directly, though removing all other options forces followers to use your preferred equipment. Followers won't equip. Similar items. If you give a follower a new weapon or armor piece that has the same stats as their current equipment, they'll refuse to equip it. The game checks whether new items provide better performance than what the follower currently uses, and items with identical values don't meet this threshold. This becomes frustrating when you want a follower to wear a specific visual appearance, but the armor has the same rating as what they're already using. You must provide equipment with superior stats, enchantments, or smithing improvements to force followers to change their gear. The pickpocket solution. When followers refuse to replace their equipment with items you've given them, pickpocketing offers a solution. If you pickpocket away the gear you want them to stop using, followers will then equip the items you provided. However, this requires high pickpocket skill and specific perks. The misdirection perk allows you to steal weapons from NPC inventories, while the perfect touch perk lets you steal equipped armor. Using this method, you can completely control a follower's appearance and equipment loadout, though it requires significant investment in the pickpocket skill tree. Hidden equipment accumulates. A particularly annoying bug causes followers to accumulate multiple copies of their default hidden equipment. Each time you dismiss a follower and then recruit them again, the game adds another complete set of their invisible starting gear to their hidden inventory. These duplicate items consume carrying capacity even though you can't see or access them. Players have reported followers like Lydia accumulating 22 invisible bows, multiple shields, and numerous duplicate armor pieces after repeated dismissals and recruitments, gradually reducing their carrying capacity to nearly nothing. The console fix. PC players can fix the accumulating hidden equipment bug using console commands. The process involves removing all items you've given the follower, opening the console, clicking on the follower, typing disable, followed by enable, and then returning the follower's equipment. This resets their hidden inventory back to a single set of default equipment, restoring their full carrying capacity. Leaving at least one piece of their original equipment prevents the game from respawning their default gear, though this doesn't work for all followers. The Wabbajack reset method. Console players lacking access to commands can use the Wabbajack staff to reset followers. Hitting a follower with Wabbajack transforms them into a random creature. When they transform back, the game resets their stats and inventory, removing accumulated hidden equipment. This method works for updating follower levels before patch 1.6 and clearing inventory bloat, though it's unreliable since Wabbajack transformations are random and the follower might not transform on the first attempt. Followers can wear giant clubs. Through a peculiar exploit, players can equip followers with giant clubs, the massive weapons that normally serve only as decorative objects. The process requires removing every weapon from the follower's inventory, then commanding them to pick up a giant club from a giant's camp. The follower will then wield the enormous club as their primary weapon, dealing substantial damage with comedically oversized animations. While you cannot use giant clubs yourself, followers don't share this restriction when commanded to pick up, rather than trade for the weapon. The 3-day wait limit. When you tell a follower to wait somewhere, they don't wait forever. The follower will remain at their designated waiting spot for approximately 3 in-game days. After this time period expires, the follower automatically stops waiting and returns to their original location where you first recruited them. This prevents permanently losing followers, but can create confusion when you return to a location expecting your follower to still be there, only to find them gone. Mercenaries typically return to the tavern where you hired them, while quest followers return to their associated locations. Vampire follower, feeding. If you're playing as a vampire, followers gain an unexpected use. When you command a follower to sleep, they become valid targets for vampire feeding. This allows you to sate your vampiric hunger without attacking random NPCs or sneaking into homes. Your follower will lie down at your command, presenting the perfect opportunity for a vampire bite. They wake up unharmed afterward and continue following you normally, completely unaware that you've been using them as a portable blood source throughout your adventures. Followers ignore stealth requirements. Followers lack any understanding of stealth gameplay. When you're sneaking through a dungeon trying to avoid detection, your follower will casually stroll along behind you, often walking directly through the light and making noise. They won't crouch or attempt to hide even when you're in sneak mode. They'll also spring traps, alert enemies, and generally ruin any attempt at a stealthy approach. The only way to prevent this is telling them to wait far behind you, essentially completing stealth sections without their help. The hidden combat state. Followers operate under different behavioral states that govern their actions. In passive state, they patrol areas, perform idle animations, and have limited awareness of their surroundings. When combat begins, they transition to aggressive state, which dramatically changes their behavior. In aggressive state, followers gain enhanced tracking abilities, continue pursuing enemies even after breaking line of sight, and become more aware of threats. This explains why you can sneak past a follower easily when they're passive, but once combat starts, they seem to know your exact position even through walls. Follower cooperation system. When one follower enters combat, they can trigger nearby allies to become aggressive as well. The game uses this system to create coordinated attacks that feel organic but follow programmed patterns. If you're traveling with multiple followers through a mod or temporary quest companions, they'll all aggro together when one spots an enemy. This prevents situations where some followers fight while others stand idle. But it also means you can't have one follower distract enemies while others remain hidden. Essential followers cannot die. Certain followers are marked as essential, meaning they cannot be killed by any means. When their health drops to 0, they fall to one knee and become temporarily invulnerable. After a few seconds, they stand up with full health and rejoin the fight. Mjol the Lioness, Serana, Cicero, Freya, and the Dark Brotherhood initiates all possess essential status, making them completely unkillable. This makes them ideal followers for players who don't want to worry about their companion dying, though it also removes some danger and tension from combat encounters. You can kill most followers. Despite followers being your companions, you absolutely can kill them, and it's often easier than you'd expect. Most followers lack essential status, meaning sufficient damage will kill them permanently. They'll die from your own attacks, enemy damage, or environmental hazards. Once dead, followers typically remain dead with no resurrection possible. Their bodies will eventually disappear, and you can usually find their belongings in a coffin at the Hall of the Dead in their hometown, though some followers' possessions disappear entirely upon death. The friendly fire problem. One of the most frustrating aspects of follower combat involves friendly fire. Your area of effect spells and attacks will damage your followers, potentially killing them. If you're playing a mage who uses fireball or chain lightning, you need to be extremely careful not to catch your follower in the blast radius. Your followers also lack immunity to your shouts, meaning unrelenting force will send them flying, and firestorm will roast them. Many players have accidentally killed their favorite follower with a poorly aimed spell. Protected versus essential status. The game distinguishes between protected and essential characters. Essential characters cannot be killed by anyone, including you. Protected characters can only be killed by the player, not by NPCs. However, a bug means that poisons bypass protected status, so poisoned weapons and potions can kill protected followers, even though direct damage from enemies cannot. Most follower deaths occur from player attacks or environmental hazards rather than enemy damage, since protected status shields them from NPC killing blows. Followers automatically regenerate health. Unlike in previous Elder Scrolls games, Skyrim followers automatically regenerate health after combat ends. You don't need to feed them healing potions or cast restoration spells to keep them healthy. Once combat finishes and a brief cool down period passes, followers return to full health automatically. This makes follower management much simpler than in games like Oblivion, where you needed to actively heal your companions. However, during extended combat, followers can still die before regeneration kicks in. The kneeling glitch. Sometimes followers get stuck in a kneeling state, where they've dropped to low health, but won't stand back up and regenerate. They'll remain kneeling indefinitely, unable to follow, fight, or interact normally. This frustrating glitch can be fixed through several methods: entering a new combat with different enemies, attacking the follower to get them back in combat, fast traveling to a new location, reloading a save, or healing them with a restoration spell. The unrelenting force shout sometimes jolts them out of the kneeling state as well. Followers can become partially disabled. Another bug causes followers to become partially disabled after combat. They won't regenerate health, won't move or follow, won't sheath their weapon when you do, and won't open a conversation menu, but they'll verbally respond when you try healing them. This state leaves the follower essentially frozen in place, unable to function. Using console commands to kill and resurrect the follower typically fixes this state. The same solutions that work for the kneeling glitch also apply. Fast travel, reload, or starting new combat often resolves the issue. Followers disappear when you pay bounties. Before patch 1.6, paying off a bounty after committing a crime would cause your follower to completely disappear. You'd finish paying your fine, turn around, and your companion would be gone. The follower would eventually return to their starting location, but players often panicked, thinking they'd lost their follower permanently. Patch 1.6 fixed this bug, but players on older versions or unpatched games still experience this annoying disappearance whenever they resolve crimes through payment. The crime witness system. When you commit crimes, followers with high morality will witness your actions and potentially report you. However, the specific crimes that trigger this response vary. Some followers will report murder but ignore theft. Others will attack you for stealing but won't care if you assault NPCs. The morality system determines exactly which crimes will turn your follower hostile. Followers with morality level 3 won't report any crimes you commit unless you directly steal from their personal inventory, treating items they own as a special case. Hidden crime commands. When you're hidden in stealth mode, most crimes you command your follower to commit will go unnoticed by the game. If you're crouched and undetected, you can order your follower to steal items, attack NPCs, or perform other illegal activities without gaining a bounty. However, if you're visible when giving the command, you'll be held responsible for the crime and guards will arrest you. This creates interesting gameplay where sneaky players can use followers as criminal accomplices by issuing commands while hidden. Followers won't interact while trespassing. When you're trespassing in a location, followers refuse most interactions with you. Try to talk to them, and they'll simply say, "You're not supposed to be in here," without opening normal dialogue options. Cicero and Serana are the only exceptions who maintain full functionality even when you're trespassing. Other followers will still fight for you and can be commanded from a distance by holding the activate button. But they won't trade items, receive direct orders, or engage in conversation until you leave the restricted area. The distance command system. Most players interact with followers by walking up to them and pressing the activate button. However, you can also command followers from a distance by holding the activate button while aiming at them. This opens a cursor that lets you point at objects or enemies and issue commands without needing to be in conversation. This long-distance command system works even when followers refuse to talk normally, such as when you're trespassing. It's particularly useful for quickly telling followers to attack specific enemies or pick up distant items. Followers can open master locks. While you might spend dozens of lockpicks trying to open a master-level chest, your followers can open it instantly with no picks required. Followers don't need lockpicking skill, lockpicks, or any special items to open locked containers. Simply command them to interact with a locked chest or door, and they'll open it immediately regardless of difficulty. This makes followers incredibly valuable for players who hate the lockpicking minigame or haven't invested in the lockpicking skill tree. The skillbook exploit. Followers can pick up skill books without reading them, allowing you to save these valuable items for later. When you find a skill book but want to gain its skill point at a different time, command your follower to pick it up instead of taking it yourself. The book enters their inventory without being read. Later, you can trade with your follower, take the book, and read it when you want the skill increase. This lets you save skill books for when you're close to leveling a particular skill, or want to power level by reading multiple books in sequence. Followers provide light sources. If there's a torch in your follower's inventory, they'll automatically use it to illuminate dark areas. This happens without you needing to command them or equip the torch manually. Followers detect when you're in darkness and will pull out their torch to help light the way. This makes dungeon exploration easier since you can rely on your follower for illumination while keeping both hands free for weapons. However, followers sometimes pull out torches at inconvenient times, like during stealth sections, where the light gives away your position. The carrying capacity system. Every follower has a base carrying capacity that determines how much weight they can hold. When you trade items to a follower, the game enforces this weight limit and won't let you give them more than they can carry. However, when you command a follower to pick up an item directly, bypassing the trade interface, they'll take the item regardless of their current encumbrance. Using this exploit, players can have followers carry thousands of pounds of equipment by commanding them to pick up items one at a time, rather than trading items through the menu. Followers return borrowed items. If you give a follower items through the trade interface, those items remain in their inventory permanently until you manually take them back. However, if a follower picks up items on their own during exploration or combat, they'll automatically return those items to you after a while. This distinction matters because it means weapons you give followers will stay with them, but weapons they pick up off dead enemies will eventually appear in your inventory without you requesting their return. The marriage options. Certain followers can be married through the Temple of Mara in Riften. Once married, these followers can still serve as your companion, but they'll also provide marriage benefits like home-cooked meals and a portion of their business income. However, marriage removes some dialogue options, and divorced followers typically become unavailable as companions forever. Some of the best followers like Jazago and Sirana cannot be married at all, limiting your romantic options to specific characters. Followers become stewards. Most followers can become stewards of houses you build through the Hearthfire DLC. When appointed as a steward, the follower remains at your house, allows you to purchase building materials and animal companions from them, and generally manages your property. Argy's the Bulwark is the only Housecarl who cannot become a steward for unknown reasons. Appointing a follower as a steward removes them from your available follower pool, though you can dismiss them as steward to recruit them again as a travelling companion. Followers can join the Blades. Most followers can be recruited into the Blades faction by bringing them to Delphine at Skyhaven Temple. However, this requires permanently killing Parthenax as part of the Blades questline. Once a follower joins the Blades, they gain unique Blades equipment and remain stationed at Skyhaven Temple. You can still recruit them as a travelling companion, but they'll return to the temple rather than their original location when dismissed. Some followers, like Dark Brotherhood members, cannot join the Blades due to faction conflicts. The dual wield problem. Followers who specialize in dual wielding weapons often encounter problems with the game's equipment system. When you give a dual wielding follower 2 weapons, they might equip them properly, or they might equip just one weapon and ignore the other. Some dual wielding followers will even abandon their weapons entirely and fight barehanded if their AI gets confused. Janassa, one of the few followers who properly uses dual wielding, demonstrates how effective this fighting style can be when it actually works correctly. Followers ignore difficult terrain. While you carefully navigate cliffs, climb mountains, and avoid dangerous falls, followers simply teleport to your position when they get too far behind. If your follower can't path to where you're standing, they'll eventually warp directly to your location. This prevents followers from becoming permanently stuck, but creates immersion-breaking moments when your companion suddenly appears beside you after you've climbed a mountain. Followers might also fall off cliffs and take damage before teleporting, creating frustrating situations where they arrive injured or dead. Animal followers have different rules. Non-humanoid followers like dogs, armored trolls, and Rieklings follow different rules than human companions. These creatures cannot trade items, cannot be given equipment, and cannot be commanded to perform complex tasks. Their interaction is limited to wait, follow, and dismiss commands. However, Rieklings are the exception, possessing more advanced capabilities than other animal followers. The dwarven automatons you can recruit as followers also fall into this limited category, serving purely as combat companions without inventory management. The steadfast dwarven followers. The Dragonborn DLC adds 2 unique mechanical followers, the steadfast dwarven spider and the steadfast dwarven sphere. These automatons follow you permanently once recruited and possess unique advantages. They don't count toward your follower limit when combined with certain quests, potentially allowing multiple followers. They never need food, water, or sleep. They cannot be killed permanently, respawning after 3 days if destroyed. However, they also cannot carry items, cannot be healed, and have no personality or dialogue, serving purely as mechanical combat assistants. Rieklings are unique followers. Rieklings recruited from the Dragonborn DLC stand apart from other non-humanoid followers. While most animal companions are limited, Rieklings can equip items and possess inventories like human followers. You can give them weapons, armor, and other equipment, and they'll use these items in combat. They also serve as comic relief with their squeaky voices and erratic behavior. However, Rieklings have lower stats than human followers and can only wear specially sized armor that fits their small frames. Armored trolls need regular feeding. The Dawnguard DLC introduces armored trolls as followers. These powerful creatures serve as tanks in combat, but they require special maintenance. You must periodically give your troll follower special troll fat to keep them loyal. If you neglect to feed your troll, it will eventually abandon you and return to its original location. This creates an ongoing maintenance requirement that other followers don't demand, making trolls more challenging to keep long-term despite their combat effectiveness. Followers have favorite foods. While most followers don't require feeding, they do have favorite foods defined in their character data. If you give followers these preferred foods, they'll consume them during idle time and sometimes comment positively. However, this system is largely cosmetic since followers don't need to eat to survive or maintain effectiveness. The favorite food system adds personality flavor without creating actual gameplay requirements, letting you roleplay feeding your companions without mechanical necessity. The follower combat class system. Every follower belongs to a specific combat class that determines their skill proficiencies, perk selections, and behavior patterns. Classes include options like Combat Barbarian, Combat Warrior, Combat Nightblade, Combat Mage, and many others. The unofficial Skyrim patch changes several followers' combat classes to match their default equipment better. For example, Koznak and Vorstag had their class changed to Combat Barbarian to align with their heavy armor preference, while Adeliza and Eric were changed to Combat Warrior to match their light armor skills. Followers have unique schedules. When not following you, most followers maintain daily schedules like other NPCs. They sleep during certain hours, eat meals, practice skills, or perform job. Jazago, for example, sleeps from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. practices destruction spells at targets from 10 AM to 2 PM, then spends the rest of his day wandering the Hall of Attainment. Understanding these schedules helps you find followers when you need to recruit them again, though it also means you might arrive at their location only to find they're temporarily somewhere else performing daily activities. The voice type restriction. Many dialogue options are restricted by voice type rather than individual follower identity. The game's dialogue system groups followers by shared voice actors, meaning multiple followers share identical lines and responses. This creates situations where different followers sound exactly the same because they're using the same voice file library. Unique followers like Serana, Jazago, and Cicero have custom voice acting that sets them apart, but most followers share voice types with several other characters, limiting their individual personality. Followers can get stuck. In dialogue, sometimes followers become stuck repeating the same dialogue line over and over, preventing any interaction. This bug often occurs after major quest events when followers should say something specific, but their dialogue trigger breaks. Jazago, for instance, can get stuck saying Jazago thought this was a safe place, continuously after certain college questline events. The solution usually involves progressing the relevant quest, fast traveling away and returning, or using console commands to reset the follower's dialogue state. The unofficial patch changes. The unofficial Skyrim patch makes numerous changes to followers beyond what most players realize. It fixes Jazago's unlimited leveling by imposing a level 30 cap. It corrects combat class mismatches for several followers. It enables Jazago and other college members to actually have their scripted conversations that never triggered in the base game. It fixes carrying capacity bugs and numerous other issues. Players using the unofficial patch experience followers differently than those playing unmodded Skyrim, with fixes that significantly improve follower functionality. Mercenaries have different dismissal rules. Hired mercenaries like Janasa, Mercurio, and Vorstag follow different rules than other followers when dismissed. Since you paid for their services, they generally return to the tavern where you hired them, rather than a home location. Additionally, some mercenaries may continue following you without requiring payment again, if you rehire them quickly enough, or if they've developed high disposition toward you. This creates situations where mercenaries effectively become permanent followers, without the ongoing cost their initial contract suggested. Followers can trigger traps. One of the most frustrating follower behaviors involves trap activation. Followers will blindly walk into pressure plates, tripwires, and other triggers, setting off arrow traps, falling boulder traps, swinging blade traps, and other dungeon hazards. They take full damage from these traps and can potentially die from repeated trap activations. The only way to prevent this is commanding followers to wait before trap-heavy sections, essentially requiring you to clear dangerous areas alone before bringing your follower through safely. The sneak penalty. Followers impose a hidden penalty on your stealth effectiveness simply by existing near you, even if you command them to wait far away. Having an active follower reduces your ability to remain undetected. Some players suspect this is an intended balance mechanic to prevent followers from making stealth gameplay too powerful. However, the exact mechanics of this stealth penalty remain unclear, and players have debated whether followers truly affect detection, or whether the perception of reduced stealth success comes from followers making noise and alerting enemies naturally. Followers react to player transformations. When you transform into a vampire lord or werewolf, followers generally don't care. They'll continue following and fighting alongside your monstrous form without complaint. However, other NPCs will turn hostile when you transform, potentially forcing your follower to choose between fighting guards or staying neutral. This creates awkward situations in towns where transforming triggers combat, but your follower doesn't understand why you're suddenly being attacked, leading to complex three-way fights between you, guards, and your confused companion. Followers, remember your last location. When followers teleport to you after getting stuck or falling behind, they actually teleport to your last non-combat location, rather than your current position. This means if you're in the middle of a fight when your follower warps, they'll appear where you were standing before combat started, potentially putting them far from the actual battle. This quirk in the teleportation system can leave followers out of position during important fights, forcing you to kite enemies toward where your companion materialized. The Coffin memorial system. When a non-essential follower dies, Skyrim creates a permanent memorial to them. After 3 days, their body despawns from wherever they died, and a coffin appears in the Hall of the Dead nearest to their hometown. This coffin contains all the items the follower was carrying when they died, including equipment you gave them and items they picked up. However, quest essential items the follower carried might disappear if they die, potentially breaking certain quest lines that required those items to progress. Followers can witness dragon soul absorption. When you absorb a dragon soul, followers have unique dialogue reactions to this spectacular event. Different followers comment differently on your dragonborn nature, with some expressing awe, others fear, and some maintaining casual indifference. These reactions help establish follower personality and their relationship with your character. Serana, for instance, has extensive dialogue about your dragon soul absorption that reflects her long-lived perspective and ancient knowledge, while other followers might express simple amazement or confusion. The aggressive state never ends cleanly. Followers sometimes remain in aggressive combat state, even after all enemies are dead. They'll keep their weapons drawn, maintain combat postures, and refuse to interact normally because the game thinks fighting continues. This state can persist indefinitely, preventing fast travel and other normal functions. The solutions involve entering combat again to properly trigger the end of combat sequence, sheathing your own weapon repeatedly, fast traveling if possible, or reloading a save. This bug illustrates the complexity of the underlying AI state system. Followers provide skill training. Several followers offer skill training in addition to their combat assistance. Isla the Huntsman provides archery training up to expert level, making her valuable for players building archery skills. Farkas and Vilkas train heavy armor and two-handed respectively. Several mage followers offer destruction, restoration, or other magic training. Having a follower who can train you creates an efficient gameplay loop where you adventure together, and when you return to town, you can spend accumulated gold on training before heading back out. The marriage follower conflict. Marrying certain followers creates unexpected complications. Some spouses can no longer serve as followers after marriage, while others maintain dual roles as both spouse and companion. The game handles these situations inconsistently across different characters. Additionally, if your married follower dies, your spouse dies with them, as they're the same person. This means accidentally killing your follower spouse ends your marriage permanently, with no possibility of remarrying or resurrecting your lost love. Followers gain hidden perks. As followers level up, they automatically gain perks that enhance their combat effectiveness. These perks are invisible to players and cannot be controlled or modified through normal gameplay. The game assigns perks based on the follower's combat class and skill specializations. A follower specialized in archery will automatically gain archery perks as they level, while a destruction mage gains relevant magic perks. This system ensures followers become more powerful over time, but it also means you can't customize their development like you can with your own character. The essential spouse loophole. Followers who are marked as protected rather than essential can still die, even if they're your spouse. However, once you marry them, they gain essential status in your player home. This means your spouse is unkillable while at home, but can die during adventures. Some players exploit this by never taking their spouse out adventuring, keeping them safely immortal at home. Others ignore the risk and continue adventuring with their spouse follower, accepting the possibility of permanent death. Followers can be soul trapped. Perhaps the darkest follower mechanic involves soul trapping. If you or an enemy kills your follower with a soul trap effect active, their soul gets captured in a soul gem. The game allows this without restriction, meaning you can accidentally soul trap followers you care about. That grand soul gem you filled during a chaotic battle might contain your companion's soul, which you can then use for enchanting. The game provides no special notification when this happens, leaving players to discover their mistake later. The follower respawn mystery. Most followers don't respawn after death, but the exact rules governing follower respawning remain unclear. Some players report followers reappearing after 30 days, while others insist followers never respawn. Quest essential followers sometimes respawn because certain quests require their presence, but regular followers apparently stay dead. The confusion stems from inconsistent implementation, bugs, and differences between follower types. Essential followers who become non-essential after quest completion create additional confusion about respawning behavior. Followers cannot swim well. Followers struggle with swimming in deep water. While they can follow you into water, they often get confused by three-dimensional aquatic navigation. Followers might swim in circles, get stuck on underwater objects, or fail to surface for air. In some cases, followers will teleport to you if they're struggling in water, but this doesn't always happen fast enough to save them from drowning. Underwater combat becomes especially chaotic as followers flail around, unable to effectively engage enemies. Followers have max level equipment. Some followers come with special equipment that levels with them up to certain thresholds. This equipment gains improved stats as the follower levels, maintaining effectiveness longer than normal gear. However, you usually cannot remove this special equipment through trading, as it's marked as part of their essential outfit. If you want followers to use different gear, you need to provide equipment with superior stats that overrides their leveled default gear. The Dragon Priest Mask bug. If you give a follower a Dragon Priest mask to wear, you might find yourself unable to retrieve it later. The masks sometimes glitch into the follower's hidden inventory, where you cannot access them through trading. Players have lost unique masks this way, permanently removing these powerful items from their game. The unofficial patch attempts to fix this bug, but players on unmodded Skyrim should avoid giving followers Dragon Priest masks or any other unique items they can't afford to lose forever. Followers have dialogue with each other. Multiple unique followers have scripted conversations with each other that trigger under specific conditions. These interactions were designed to add personality and world building, showing how different characters know each other or have opinions about one another. However, bugs prevent many of these conversations from ever occurring. Jazago has dialogue with Onmon that never plays because they're never in the correct location together. The unofficial patch fixes several of these broken conversations, finally allowing players to hear interactions the developers intended. The combat pull effect. Followers effectively double your threat radius when exploring. Enemies that spot your follower will aggro onto both of you, even if they haven't seen you yet. This means your follower charging ahead can pull entire rooms of enemies that you intended to approach carefully. The opposite also happens. Enemies attacking you will often switch to targeting your follower once combat begins, as the AI distributes threats between multiple targets. Understanding this effect helps you position followers strategically, rather than letting them blindly charge ahead. Followers trigger dialogue. Events. Bringing specific followers to certain locations triggers unique dialogue or quest events. Mjol comments on locations throughout Skyrim based on her extensive travels. Serana has hundreds of location-specific dialogue lines throughout the game. Some followers have relationships with NPCs you encounter, triggering special conversations. These hidden interactions reward players who explore thoroughly with different followers, revealing characterization and backstory that only appears under specific circumstances. Players who always use the same follower miss content designed for other companions. The Blade of Woe problem. Giving followers the Blade of Woe or other absorb health weapons creates unexpected complications. The absorb health effect heals the wielder when they land hits, which sounds beneficial for followers. However, this healing can prevent followers from ever entering the wounded state where they kneel and become temporarily invulnerable. Instead, they might heal just enough to stay standing, but not enough to survive, potentially causing protected followers to die when they should have been saved by their bleed-out immunity. Players should avoid giving certain weapon enchantments to followers. Followers can become vampires. If you're a vampire lord and attack your follower with vampiric drain or other vampire abilities, they can contract sanguinare vampiris and eventually become vampires. This transforms their appearance, giving them the characteristic vampire look with pale skin and red eyes. However, becoming a vampire doesn't grant followers any vampire abilities or weaknesses. They won't be harmed by sunlight or gain vampire powers. The transformation is purely cosmetic, creating the bizarre situation where your follower looks like a vampire but functions as a normal human. The follower commentary system. Many followers provide ambient commentary while exploring, reacting to locations, enemies, and situations. This commentary adds personality and helps locations feel alive, but the system has limitations. Followers might repeat the same lines frequently, becoming annoying rather than immersive. Different followers have vastly different amounts of unique dialogue, with Serana possessing thousands of lines compared to generic followers, who might have a few dozen. The quality and quantity of follower commentary significantly impacts how alive and interesting they feel as companions. Followers never get tired. Unlike some RPGs where companions need rest, food, and maintenance, Skyrim followers possess unlimited stamina for travel. They'll run behind you indefinitely without needing breaks, never complain about being tired, and don't require food or water. This makes followers extremely low maintenance compared to more realistic companion systems in other games. You can sprint across Skyrim with a follower in tow, and they'll keep pace without any negative effects. Their unlimited endurance is both convenient for gameplay and completely immersion-breaking for players who notice this inhuman stamina. The follower faction system. Followers belong to various factions that affect how they interact with the world and other NPCs. Some followers are members of the companions, others belong to the college, and some have Dark Brotherhood affiliations. These faction memberships create complex interaction webs. Companions will greet each other differently than they greet strangers. Faction enemies might attack your follower, even if they're not hostile to you. The faction system adds depth, but also creates situations where your follower's faction membership triggers unexpected hostile responses from NPCs. Followers can be accidentally recruited. Some NPCs can be recruited as followers through dialogue options that aren't obviously recruitment offers. Players sometimes accidentally hire mercenaries or recruit followers without realizing they've done so, only discovering their new companion when that person starts following them around. This creates confusion about why an NPC suddenly became a follower and where your previous follower went. Always read dialogue carefully to avoid unintentionally replacing your current follower with someone you didn't mean to recruit. The follower limit loophole. While Skyrim normally limits you to one humanoid follower at a time, several exploits and quest lines allow multiple followers simultaneously. Certain quests provide temporary followers who don't count toward your limit, letting you adventure with 2 or more companions. The Dark Brotherhood Initiate can follow you alongside another follower under specific circumstances. Animal followers don't count toward the humanoid limit. Players have discovered various methods to maintain multiple followers at once, creating small armies of companions that make combat trivially easy. Followers have favorite weapons. Despite followers equipping whatever weapon deals the most damage, they perform better with weapons that match their skills. A follower specialized in two-handed weapons will be more effective with a greatsword than with dual daggers, even if both setups have similar damage values. The game's AI handles different weapon types with varying degrees of competence, and followers fight better when using their preferred weapons. Understanding these preferences helps you optimize follower performance rather than simply giving them the highest damage option. The follower death animation. Non-essential followers have a unique death animation where they dramatically fall and remain visible for a while before disappearing. This differs from regular NPC deaths, giving players time to realize their follower has died and potentially reload a save. The game designed this intentional pause specifically so players wouldn't lose followers without noticing. However, during chaotic combat, followers can still die without players seeing the death animation, leading to that awful moment when you turn around and realize your companion is gone. Followers remember past conversations. Followers track which dialogue lines they've already spoken to you, preventing excessive repetition of one-time lines. This system works imperfectly, leading to followers sometimes repeating story details or conversations. However, it does prevent followers from constantly telling you their backstory every time you talk. The memory system also tracks quest progress, allowing followers to comment on events you've experienced together and acknowledge your shared history. This creates a sense of developing relationship as you adventure together. The follower morality teaching. Some players believe followers with high morality gradually influence the player toward lawful behavior by discouraging crime. While this isn't a programmed mechanic, the social pressure of having a morally upright companion does affect player behavior. Players often feel guilty committing crimes in front of followers they like, leading to more lawful playstyles. Conversely, amoral followers like Janassa enable darker roleplay by not judging criminal acts. The psychological effect of follower morality exceeds any mechanical impact. Followers affect game performance. On older systems or heavily modded games, followers can significantly impact performance. Each follower represents additional AI processing, pathfinding calculations, combat decisions, and inventory management. Multiple followers or complex follower mods can cause frame rate drops, stuttering, or crashes on systems already struggling with Skyrim's demands. Players experiencing performance issues sometimes find that dismissing followers temporarily improves stability, though this obviously removes the benefits of having a companion. The permanent follower mods. The follower system's limitations have spawned countless mods improving functionality. Amazing follower tweaks, UFO, extensible follower framework, and numerous other mods completely overhaul follower behavior. These mods add features like multiple followers, improved AI, better combat tactics, expanded dialogue, and countless quality of life improvements. The popularity of follower mods demonstrates how much potential the system had that Bethesda didn't fully realize. Modded followers often feel more like actual companions than the vanilla implementation. Followers are Skyrim's heart. Despite their bugs, limitations, and frustrations, followers represent one of Skyrim's most beloved features. They transform the lonely adventure of previous Elder Scrolls games into a shared journey. They provide companionship, comic relief, combat assistance, and pack mule services. They make the world feel more alive and give players someone to care about beyond their own character. The countless mods, forum discussions, and fan art dedicated to followers shows how much these companions matter to players, bugs and all. Now you understand the hidden depths and secret mechanics behind Skyrim's follower system. From invisible equipment and hidden perks to morality codes and unlimited leveling, these companions contain far more complexity than most players ever discover. Every follower has secrets waiting to be uncovered, quirks to exploit, and depths to explore. The next time you recruit a companion, you'll see them differently, understanding the intricate systems working behind their deceptively simple appearance. Thank you for journeying with me tonight, Cozy Nights. If this story helped you rest, consider leaving a like. It helps other weary travelers find their way to our fireside. And remember, there are many more tales waiting for you here by the fire. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure. Until next time, sleep peacefully and have a cozy night.